Okay. First of all, well, those colors look crazy, right? First of all, I'm just going to try something here. I'm going to take a picture of you because it's not every day that you get to fly around the world and give a presentation. So, yes, my name is Michael. Hello. We're gonna have fun. My last name is Flarup, I believe the Americans pronounce it. In Danish, it's Flarup, and we can all try that later when we've had a couple of beers. And that is also my Twitter handle. So in the event of me saying anything clever in the next 45 minutes, feel free to tweet it, or if you have questions, you can also tweet me. And I think actually we're going to try something that we haven't tried before. Can I ask you all to close your laptops? Is that too much to ask? Cool. Unless you have like some sort of vital need to have it open, then let's close it. Cool. I'm from Denmark, and Drew has flown me in all the way from Copenhagen, which is far away, and to talk to you guys and to spend this wonderful weekend with you on the beach. And I'm really privileged, and just want to thank Drew and Matt here for having me, and you guys for listening to me. I know it's late in the afternoon. It's been a long day and a lot of great speakers. And drink night is coming up. It's more like drink evening, if I remember last year, because it ends at 9, and then everybody they shut off the lights, like, shoo, go away. But I know it's late. I hope you'll stay with me because we're going to talk about something really fun today. Cool. So I am a designer, and I find it increasingly hard to put a title on exactly what it exactly is that I do, because I do a lot of different things. These days, I usually just go with I make things. So when Drew asked me here to talk to you guys, I started brainstorming. There's so many things that I wanted to talk to you guys about, and I only have 45 minutes. One of my great passions is app icons. There's just something very magical about crafting these little gems. There's just this level playing field of grasping for people's attention within the same limited amount of space. You need to tell this little story. You need to create this little piece of scalable branding. I've made icons for games like these, where you need to really flex your creative muscle, or icons for utilities, where you need to carefully consider every shape and every gradient. Simplistic icons. Sometimes I just make icons for fun, really. Like these ones I did for a personal project I call App Icon Wars. Just to play around with the constraints, explore what's possible, even the sillier parts of it. So in short, I love making icons, and I've made quite a few icons over the years, both for my own products, but also for clients around the world. I also create and maintain a resource called App Icon Template, which maybe some of you guys have heard of it. But it empowers a lot of people to do their own app icons, maybe people who are not as savvy in Photoshop as some of you guys out there. And it makes it easier to get from idea to execution. I obviously also do a lot of other stuff. I don't get to sit around and do icons all day, unfortunately. I do interface work. I'm an interface designer, a product designer, and a game designer. Worked on a lot of games. I think games are a really fun design discipline. And recently, I also became a baby designer. I helped make this guy. My son is 4 months old today, exactly, actually. Yeah, he's easily my best work. So I run a couple of companies and initiatives, and one is this little one-man design studio, Pixel Resort, where I've been freelancing for the past 10 years. I also do a one-day conference in Copenhagen called Forge with a couple of other cool guys. And then I co-founded a company called RoboCat. I'm not sure if any of you, have anyone heard of RoboCat? Woo! Oh, that's awesome. That's nice, traveling around the world and people know about your company. Sweet. I started out with this guy. These slides are very dark. I'll put these up on SlideShare. His name is Willie. We started out 5 years ago. We just started building iOS apps out of our apartments. And today, our team has grown, and we're involved in all sorts of interesting projects, utilities, games, and even hardware. So, I looked over all this, and I'm sure all these topics would make decent talks. I could talk to you about my love for icons. I already kind of did a little. How it is to run a small company, or talk about crowdfunding. A lot of people want to talk about that. I could talk about how you make babies, because I know that now. But I mean, somehow this doesn't really feel like the venue. I need to come up with something different, a presentation that wasn't just about process, really, something a little more universal, something that we could all enjoy. And that's why I came up with this talk called Designing for Fun. So I'm going to try and paint a picture for you here. There is today this trend in design that often leads to the glorification of functionality. Design is there to solve a task, and it's this one-dimensional scale where as little design as possible and how fast a user gets from understanding A to understanding B is a metric for success. And when I talk about design, I'm not just talking about graphic design, I'm talking about the entire creation process. And in the last decade, design has matured greatly. We designers now have a spot at the round table. It's not just business people and developers anymore. A conference like this is like a great example of that. We have a say in what ideas we pursue and how we make people feel about those ideas. But with this maturity, there's also like this stronger sense of right and wrong. Conventions to adhere to, correct ways of building businesses and products. It's serious business all of a sudden. Like, I feel like a lot of designers have become a lot more serious. I don't think you have to listen to many skeuomorphic versus flat discussions to realize that. And I can't help to think that in all these rules and all these biggerings about how to do things right, we've kind of lost some of that fun. So I'm going to talk about fun today, and this is the fun conference, so it seems like the right thing to do. And I'm going to do it by telling you 3 stories about 3 things I've helped to build. Each story have fun elements to them, a fun backstory, a fun idea, a fun execution. And I think fun as a concept in my career has been a guiding pillar in much of what I've done. And by looking at these 3 stories here, we'll try to extract some sort of general knowledge about how to come up with and execute on more fun projects. Can anyone guess what any of these projects are? There's a couple of hands. Did you shout them out? Come on. Temperature. There's something about temperature. That's true. Thermodo. There's a thermodo in there. What? Again? Yeah, it is a weather app. At least the first 2 are. Thermodo also. Okay, cool. We're going to start with the first story, and it starts very chronologically with RoboCat's first app. And we'll have to travel back in time to the 2nd of June, 2009. And I had recently just quit my day job. Yes. And I said to my boss, I want to quit. And then, I had to freelance full time, and a lot of my clients were in the US and other places around the world. So I got this email from a guy named Willie Wu. It's a pretty cool name. And he asked me for some graphics for an app, an idea that he had, and he was from Denmark. So I was like, cool, what do you do with local clients? You have beer with them, right? So Willie, he kind of explained this idea to me. He wanted to, at this point, I think we were in iOS 2 or 3 or something like that. It was very early days for apps. And like now, there was a lot of weather apps out there. But you kind of had to be like a pocket meteorologist to really enjoy them. So his idea was, he told me like very passionate about his idea that it would just be like this little graphical universe you saw out like through these little doors, this little window, and you'd just see the weather outside. And I almost spilled my beer, and I'm like, oh yes, so you want me to draw all weather, basically. That's going to be pretty expensive. So we decided to team up. And if RoboCat had been like a movie, this would have been like the montage where we worked with the Rocky theme playing in the background. We worked at his place, worked at my place, worked at a bar. And it's very, the app eventually came to be known as Outside. And it was very much a summer app. We were some of the first people to actually do push notifications. Today it's very easy, but back then you have to build your own server. We had to have subscription services and all that. Some of the notifications you could get would be like, when is it t-shirt weather outside? And summer in Copenhagen is nice. I mean, it's not as nice as this, but it's up there. The app ended up being launched on the 22nd of December, which is not at all like this in Copenhagen. So that was kind of fun. rather than telling you this whole thing, actually I brought some old school video from the night we launched outside. It's very embarrassing behind the scenes stuff with a younger Michael and a younger Willie.
Light is brighter than it usually is. How come you're wearing glasses on a day like this? Take them off so you can see the rays. I stare at your eyes and call down your face.
So basically, we got word from Apple last night that our app Outside has been approved. Right now, I'm working on the video that's going on outsideapp.com, and I'm a little tired because I was out drinking when Apple decided to approve our app. So, but it's okay. It's gonna be fine.
Tell me the way you shine your light.
So we are ready to take on hordes of users.
Yeah.
And I'm taking it by the confidence in your voice that this is, you know, it's just gonna go great and the server is completely up to date.
Yep. It's gonna be awesome. We're going to get some pizza. It's cold.
How cool? Okay, wait. This will be awesome. Do you have your iPhone with you?
Okay.
Let's see.
It's minus 5 degrees, but feels like minus 11.
Okay, so it says feels like minus 11.
Yeah. You can see the icicles as well.
Okay, let me see the icicles.
My hands are shaking. So we've made an app that tracks how many users that have bought the app and they're registered on the server. So basically, when you start the app, you can see how many units have been sold, and right now it says 6 units. And at the bottom it says how much money we've earned so far.
With this little app, we'll be able to monitor all our sales over Christmas. That is, I mean, that's just silly and extremely awesome.
Also, it shows on the badge how many users.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. So we've earned 75 kroners until now. That's not bad for 6 months of work. That's pretty cool. So the secret ingredient of being a great iPhone developer? Instant coffee. And lots of it. So it's a little after midnight here in this Copenhagen apartment, and the app is slowly coming online in the different app stores. I think we're about to hit Western Europe actually. Our 2 sites are ready to go online. We're pretty much good to go. So we hope you enjoyed this little view behind the scenes. And we hope you buy the app, of course, and have a lot of fun with it. So thanks for watching.
Cool. Yeah, so it was a crazy Christmas and January. That little badge on the app, that the money shaker, actually made a money sound when you shook it. It went, the user count went to 35,000 users, paying customers at tier 3. That's not something you can do today. You could back then. So in less than a month, me and Willie had made $100,000, which was pretty insane. And we looked at each other and we were like, okay, we should probably build a company. We got featured on every major tech blog, basically. Maybe there wasn't a lot of other great stories out there that day. I don't know what happened, but for that single day, it seemed like just everybody was just talking about our little app. I mean, if some of you guys, you've launched some awesome stuff. You know that feeling when you have that one day, that crazy day, where everybody's talking about shit. And then one morning, we woke up to this.
And of course, this is the first full week of spring. You know, the flowers are blooming, birds are chirping. I know this because I have an app on my iPhone that shows what it looks like outside, so I don't have to go outdoors. I can just see spring on my iPhone. It's right there. I don't have to go outside. I get spring right on the iPhone. Yeah, perfect, perfect.
Yeah, so this was pretty amazing for two guys from Copenhagen. We were pretty floored. But what was so great about outside? It was a completely different environment back then, obviously. Let's just deconstruct it. So it was a different approach. Existing apps were about piling on as much information as possible. And with outside, what we did was simple, playful, and colorful. It was kind of like, yeah, it was a new approach at that time. Also, we had fun little details. So we had like a custom little toolbar, and the home button was sort of this coffee cup icon. But we added it so that if it were above a certain amount of degrees outside, so it was really warm outside, it would turn into this lemonade cup instead. So kind of like these fun little details. And also, I mean, this is standard fare today, but at the time, we were some of the first to really produce a consistent experience throughout our communication of a mobile app. So, a cool website, great newsletter campaign, awesome little video, the entire experience, very consistent. And I think that made it a lot easier for people to talk about our app. Again, as I said, this is a couple of years ago. Today, this is what you do. But back then, we were just trying stuff out. So a consistent experience was some of the things that kind of helped this. Next story. Anyone know what this is? Thermo. Exactly. So this is fun. This is a different thing. It starts back in 2011, and RoboCat is now a small company. Meaning we have like one employee at this time. These are just my friends. We had a LAN party at our office, but so it kind of felt. But we had this little office, and in Copenhagen felt more like a medium-sized closet, really. We had just finished a month-long client project on the first Podio app. Not sure if any of you guys know Podio. It's this pretty cool work platform thing. And we helped build their very first mobile app. And the spec grew from 10 pages to 53 pages in 3 months. So it was just like an insane thing. And we were exhausted when we finally delivered the product. And we needed something like small and fun to work on. I had this idea for like the world's simplest weather app. I know, again, another weather app. People are always like, oh, it's you guys with the weather apps. Like, we have made other things, But award-winning, fuck that shit. We've made weather apps, and I posted this shot in Dribble, and asked people if they would use something like this. The idea was just like to have like this rich thermometer, and you tapped it, and it'll just show you the temperature outside. And we built it in 2 weeks, and we launched an iPad app version of it a little later. And I'm just going to show you a very short video from the iPad launch. And a little bonus fact, the guy playing the piano in this video is actually the first employee of RoboCat, Ulrik, and also the lead developer on Thermo. So, I mean, we had a lot of fun with it, and it kind of blew up in our faces. Today, Thermo has 4.5 million users, and it's just for a small company, that's a big asset to have. What was so great about Thermo? Why did we get that many users? Well, it was simple functionality, rich execution. Simple to understand, basically focusing on just one feature, and it had like this attractive packaging. Wooden interface, before wooden interfaces were cool and then came out of vogue. It was a passion project. It was driven by developers and the community. We asked people if they wanted to use this, and they contributed all along the way with translations and all these ideas. Actually, we added something fun to Thermo about a year ago. We kind of wanted to try and capitalize a little on all our free users. So we thought, how can we add something to such a simple app already that wouldn't, interfere with people using the app that they use every day, but kind of give them something extra, a way that they could actually spend some more money in the app. It's a free app with ads, and you can remove the ads, and then that's basically it. So we added this tiny little theme store. It's enormously silly. So you could actually customize the way your thermometer looked. And you can't see it here, by the way. Does this work? Let me just, can you hear this? No, you can't. Fair enough. So the theme store, it kind of had this elevator music, right? You went in there, and there's all these little themes. So yeah, there's a steampunk thermometer. Who would want that? I don't know, but people there, they buy it. There's this, like all these different, a wooden thermometer, and there's this bling thermometer, which has like little diamonds and a silver chain that jiggles around when you move your iPhone. And the thing is, all the other themes are just like $1, but the bling theme is $10. And people buy it, because it's fun and it's weird, and this music is, So yeah, it's just a fun little thing. Cool. So next, the last story I want to tell you is this thing, Thermodo. And it starts, this story begins early last year. Robocat has grown a bit. It's now, we have a larger office, and we have some more fun projects under our belt. A lot of people are using Thermo, as you just saw, and we have some great ratings on the App Store. But we look at this and we're like, why is it not 5 stars? 4.5 is nice, I guess, but what's that? What's that? So we looked into the 1-star app reviews. We saw stuff like this. So I checked the temperature in our bathroom and then went to our fireplace, and it still said -2 degrees. It doesn't work. It's a waste of time. 1 star. So this poor guy, he obviously thought that his iPhone, with a thermometer, granted, could measure the temperature right where he were. And then, we laughed a bit at him at first, admittedly. But then we started thinking, how could we, ever the pleasing Robocats, how could we solve this guy's issue? And then Willie bumped into this guy at a party. This is Marcus. He's an electrical engineer. And we pitched him some of the ideas that we had. We were actually here high on our Kickstarter bus last year at ValioCon. All of us, and Marcus was here as well. Did a quick presentation. And he came back to the office a week later with this thing. And it was just this thing that he soldered together by components that he sourced from things he had at home. And not much to look at, but it actually worked. The way it works is that it sends an audio signal through a passive temperature sensor on a 4-pole audio jack. And then the sensor attenuates the signal depending on the environment, and it's fed back through the microphone input. And then we have some fairly advanced software that tries to calculate, what is the temperature of the actual sensor. So not much to look at, but then we started the design phase, and I got to design hardware, and that's fun. I'm very much a digital designer. Getting to do something physical was a really fun challenge. And we sketched it out, decided on this kind of key ring look that we wanted, so you always had it with you in your keys. We had some people help us do the actual CAD drawings for it. It was pretty awesome to have that. It was very Iron Man-ish to have that thing. You could manipulate it, you could pull it apart and stuff like that. We went to a very exotic place called Damvi Develop, which was in the suburbs of Copenhagen, probably in the most boring town of the entire capital area. But they had the small factory with fun machines, and we had it's hard to see the dark slides here, but we had this epoxy bath, and then a laser runs over it, and the bath slowly rises and hardens the individual pieces. So this is the result. They call this rapid prototyping, but to make these pieces, it took more than a weekend. So I'm not really sure where they get the rapid from, but. An assembled Thermodo, and then we painted them in the back of the office. We had some Warhammer painting lying around. We made a little jig, and then we coated them. They look like this, and hand-soldered the prototypes. And this is what our final prototype looked like. And now Robocat is a notoriously bootstrapped company. We've never really taken any funding, and So we kind of, but it's kind of expensive to build hardware. We all knew that. So we decided to do a Kickstarter campaign because, that's what you do these days. And we kind of wanted to try it out. So this is what the Kickstarter page looked like before we put it live. And I'm not sure if you've tried to submit a Kickstarter project, but there's this submission process, and you make it look all nice. And we worked on it, like we pulled an all-nighter. And during that night, we had to change our goal from $30,000 to $35,000 because of some unforeseen shipping costs. And I could just tell that Willie's heart, it just sank. He was like, we had to just imagine that $30,000, that was the goal, which it's an insane amount of money. And we were like, when we had to up it, he was like, yeah, we're not going to get it then. That's it. But we went ahead, we submitted it, and also, when you work on something, some of you guys might have experienced this. When you work on something for a couple of months or even longer, you obviously talk about your projects to your peers, your parents and whatnot, and they pat you on the back saying, yeah, it's a great project, great project. But when you're on the cusp of launching it, you kind of get a little nervous. You're like, am I insane for working on this for this long? But all these fears and anxieties were for nothing because we reached that 35,000 goal within 7 hours. So now we had 30 days of campaigning left, and we're kind of taken aback. And we had a crazy month of campaigning. We learned a ton about crowdfunding, and I could probably stand up here and talk to you guys about all that stuff for 2 hours. But this is a talk about fun, so let's skip right to the party. So we had a party, we had a rap party. Remember to celebrate. We had people counting down at our office as the counter went to 0, and when the counter hit 0, we ended up with $336,000 US. That is a lot of dough. So it was 10 times as much as we asked for, and the project, it just completely exploded in terms of complexity too. And we spent most of 2013 just working on this project. And again, let's have a few beers later and talk about all the ups and downs of doing a very public Kickstarter campaign. But we're the most funded project in Northern Europe in 2013, and I got on the front page of Børsen, which is kind of like the biggest business publication in Denmark. My mom was very proud, so that was nice. And the hard work paid off. Our Thermodos, they really turned out great. And running a successful Kickstarter campaign and executing on it was quite an adventure. As I said, it could easily have been a 2-hour talk just about that. Actually, I think that's probably what Drew thought I would talk about. But what I'm most proud of in terms of that, to sort of wrap that story up, is that we did a really good job of sharing the journey through a lot of behind-the-scenes videos. And I think I want to show you the very last video that we put out in January after we had shipped everything. So it's quite emotional. It kind of sums up part of the adventure that we've been on.
The turn of the year was a crazy time for the team. It was a moment we've been working towards for the better part of 9 months. The moment when we finally got to ship the first Thermodo units. This was the culmination of months of hard work on both software and hardware. Overcoming production obstacles and inventing new processes. Utilizing the extended funding to make sweeping changes to our product. Suffering delays and frustrations of iterative prototyping, establishing relationships with overseas facilities, plowing through hundreds of samples for the right finish, solving deeply complex software issues, understanding shipping structures, obsessing over packaging solutions, and logistically balancing a first production run of 12,000 units to 77 countries. All while communicating as best as we could along the way, bringing 9,000 vocal backers behind the scenes. many ways, this was the product of every single challenge you've seen us overcome the past year, but also in some ways, just the very first step towards the future. This moment did not disappoint. As thousands of people received their Thermodos over Christmas and January, we've been flooded with feedback. Everything from love letters to hateful comments have poured in, and the passion is palpable. It's been amazing for us to see the amount of emotion, and we've tried our best to get back to everyone, no matter if they've given praise or disapproval. You are the ones who allowed us to build this thing. You are part of the team, not just a customer. There's still a lot of work to be done. We want to make our software a lot better so more people can enjoy Thermodo. We want to improve our production process, and we want to build a stronger community around the product. We're working on all of these things, but above all, we want you to realize that you've helped make this thing. When the crowds number in the thousands, there will always be critics, but we are really proud of what we've achieved together. Something that was just an idea 9 months ago is now a physical product shipping to thousands of people around the world. People are learning about the wondrous nature of temperature and now have a small sensitive tool to make their very own measurements. The job of the Kickstarter campaign is almost over, but we hope that you'll cherish the adventure we've been on and help us share it with the world. Thanks for watching and thanks for backing. It's been one hell of a ride, guys.
Yeah! Woo! Yeah, fun year, hard year, fun year. So what was so great about Thermodo, though? It's a cool story. I mean, it's like just this underdog story. These developers, they usually build software, and now they want to try and build hardware. Can they do it? And it had a fun backstory. I mean, every developer knows the feeling of a 1-star app review. So we kind of flipped that into like a fun new project, and it's a fun little thing. It's small, it's not very expensive, so it was an affordable journey to join, and I think a lot of people just kind of jumped on the bandwagon. Yeah. So that was 3 very specific product stories. All of them had elements to them that have a fun backstory, a fun execution, fun idea. But obviously, like, fun is hard to hard to quantify. I mean, how do you translate the concept of fun into something you can actually work with? I've tried to end up with a few slides that focus on some of the things I believe is important if you want to allow more fun in your projects, and if you want to avoid the pitfalls of seriousness. First of all, I think we live in a society that has too great an emphasis on ideas. Somehow we fostered this notion that ideas are precious, leading to the general public and the businesses at large to think that ideas are more worth than your ability to execute them. I mean, we have this idea that ideas are things that need to be protected. How many of you in here have signed NDAs before they needed to hear about a project? Show of hands. A good deal, right? Yeah, I think ideas are a dime a dozen, basically, and the best ones are supposed to be discussed, and they're supposed to be enjoyed and discussed openly. I'm just thinking, like, how many companies or initiatives haven't been started because of this environment where we fear to share our ideas? So enjoy your ideas, discuss them openly, you know, send them out on the town, get home drunk. There'll probably be better ideas later. Yeah. So I found that a great way to find fun is to ask yourself if this would make a great story. If the answer is yes, there's probably some sort of fun in that process. So I do, and alarmingly, a lot of my business choices, they're based on this assumption, if I think it would make a good story. Look at what others are doing and then take a different approach. I think that's a good place to start if you want to do something that's fun. Look at the established conventions and then come at it from a completely different angle. Details are important, we all know that, but you know, it's a great idea to add things that you think are fun, even if not a lot of your users or people that are, you know, yeah, even if only a fraction of your users are going to notice it. In Thermodo, we actually had, in the tiny little packaging, if you ripped it apart inside the glue, there was like a URL. Not a lot of people found that. But if you went to that URL, something fun happened. So, again, a continuation of that. Little things matter. Little things can really shape the entire perception of a product or a company. Yeah, this is something I see a lot of people get wrong, at least in my eyes. I think there's this fundamental perception that people are using your product. So using that word gives it a very tool-like spin. It's almost like users are these mice that needs to go through a labyrinth, and you have to the more effectively we can get them through, the better. I think there's a lot more emotion to it. I think people are experiencing your product. They're not just using it. And it's not just about getting them from A to B, getting them through a series of screens or guiding them through some sort of functionality. Once you start thinking about people experiencing and what they're experiencing on that journey, rather than how effective we can get them to the destination, then I think fun becomes this concept there's actually room for in the process when you build your product. So if you want to get really specific about it, easy ways to add fun is through graphics, animation, and interactivity, obviously. A couple of years ago, this wasn't something we talked about a lot, but today we have all these awesome tools to help us. If we want to make a button, let's make it a button that you really want to press. If you have some sort of vital interaction in your app, let's make sure it's really enjoyable to use and feels good. You have the tools at your disposal to make everything your users do more enjoyable and more fun. You also have the tools to make everything your users do enormously annoying. So, be careful and figure out when you are adding value to the experience. Also, the last thing I'd want to get caught in is some sort of discussion about trends. Understand that these are just tools in your toolbox, and we just need to choose the best way to produce the best experience, really. Design would be a pretty boring discipline if there was always a single solution. There's so many ways to solve things. And that's what makes it exciting. To make something fun, don't be afraid to part with the conventional and embrace diversity. The success of a design, it should be measured in how well it carries your message, how well it carries your functionality, and how it makes people feel. I think we've heard a couple of variations on this already today, but fun creates more fun, boring creates more boring. And this mantra actually, it can be applied to the entire process it's both in the way that you come up with your ideas, but it's also in down to the level where what the solutions you want to work into your interfaces. So more fun projects, it just spawns other fun projects. You kind of work in that environment. You find a fun solution to an interface issue that you're having. It's probably going to feed other interesting solutions in that app. And a great way to end this would obviously be remember to have fun. I think that's a great way to make sure that fun also makes it into your projects. Remember to have fun yourself. Celebrate the milestones. Obviously, a lot of people forget that. It's all about iterating and shipping and shipping and shipping. And have a party, go out, take your team out, go to a conference on the beach. Just make sure that you're having fun, really. And you all know this one, right? The good old form follows function. I think that in this sentence, I believe there can be some dangerous preconceptions. If all design exclusively follows functionality, then I think we end up with soulless and uninspiring products. We need to enjoy ourselves in the process of building these things, and we need to think about how we make other people feel when designing. And that's why I believe that form follows fun, which is also the t-shirt that I have on today. And with those words, I think I'll end this talk. Thank you. Cool. Let's do questions. I'm going to move out here because I think it's weird standing behind that thing.
Questions?
Actually, everyone who asks a question, I should have told this later because they get a Thermodo. Now we're going to see some questions.
Hey, hi, Michael. Thank you for the talk. It was really interesting. Actually, I have two questions. Yeah, one of the last slides was actually talking about one of the questions that I have. So I remember like back 2009, I have like my Apple Touch and like I download your app outside, and I was amazed by the details because back then it was something that not so many people were doing, and it actually was the things that get me into like app design and icon design because back then I was working on the web. So like I spent a lot of years try to refine my skill and like making all these crazy icons, like super details.
Yeah.
And then, the trends change, as Jeff said this morning, and flat design come, kind of destroy everything, So my question is, I know, you say those are just tools. So you just try to keep like your own identity without, like give too much importance on these things?
Well, I mean, it's a good question. It's not something I think there is one single answer to, but I think good design is good design. I mean, obviously it'll be impacted by whatever trends you as a human being, as a designer that works on something, we're very impressionable, and we get impacted by all these other people doing work, and when trends shift, obviously our work is also going to shift, and it would be stupid to think that it doesn't. But I mean, I still think that I mean, flat design isn't anything new. It's fun that there is a lot of young designers who think that this is. I mean, you don't have to go back to Paul Rand and all these other people to figure out that flat design in print has been like a whole big thing. And I think all these trends they come and they go. I'm not saying that we're going to have wooden interfaces again in a couple of years, but. I don't feel like they should dictate anything. I think when you're designing something, you're telling a little story, really. You're building your own little universe. Sometimes it's easier than other times. I mean, some products are easier to apply that thing to than other. But yeah, so it shouldn't impact too much.
Okay, thank you. So the second question is, would you work like on hardware design again? Because it seems like pretty stressful.
Yeah, actually we are already working on hardware design again, so I guess I'm already kind of 1 foot into it. Yes, I would, but I would probably do a lot of different things differently. But yes, I mean, it is really fun. There is this intangibility to working in digital design, and it's kind of weird because if one day, the apocalypse comes, or well, not the apocalypse then, but internet shuts down and all our hard drives are erased. Like there's nothing really in the world that we've made. Like everything, our services and all these things, they kind of disappear. They're very intangible, and it's pretty awesome building physical things because when first time you hold something in your hand that you've helped create, yeah, it's hard to explain. It's kind of like an overwhelming. There's something like a persistence in the world. So yes, I would, but probably not exactly in the same venue as we've done. So,
can you tell everyone your Twitter handle?
Why is that?
Because so everybody needs to tweet out that your quote that flat design destroyed everything.
So my handle is Dorian Darko. You spell like D-O-R-I-E and D-E-R-K-O.
I'll tweet it, and then I'll tweet it later.
All right, so if anyone got that, tweet that out.
Okay, before the next question, though, I just want to ask one thing, because this is not something that we do very often. A few of you, I've seen in this VCon stream that a few of you guys have done it. I'm going to ask for selfies now, though. I should have had an explosion. But honestly, we should be better at taking pictures at these things and using the hashtag, because when Drew and Matt and all these guys are building something like this, I know because I'm building conferences myself, it's really hard to get the word out about what we're doing. Maybe not all your followers actually know that you're in this room today, meeting with all these awesome people. So, if you would all take out your phones,
make everyone else jealous.
Yeah, make everyone jealous. But it's honestly, it's a splash in the pond, but it really helps. So it's okay. You can say that I asked you to it.
Nobody can see you. Stand over.
I'll stand here, right in the light. I'll jump. 3, 2, 1. Great. I'll send that home. Cool. Let's do more questions. Here in the front.
Right here.
Right. Sorry. While he's here. Thank you for the talk.
Almost hit Drew. Sorry.
I was just asking, I mean, it seems like you've been a really busy person the past couple of years. And as a designer working, hard too, I think burnout is real. And I wonder if you've experienced it and how you overcome it.
I mean, that could be a whole separate talk, I think. How do you balance your, like your personal life and your own work, and how do you make sure that you don't creatively burn out? I mean, I recently became a father, and that has definitely changed my way of doing all the work that I do. And Drew just told me over breakfast that that's never going to change, apparently. I thought that it might be a period, but you know, when they're 18 and move away from home. But yeah, so that has shifted my entire way of, I work a lot less. And the fact that I actually got to go to this conference on the other side of the globe, it's going to cost me a lot of money. I'm going to buy her a fine bag or something. No, but to answer your question, what I try to do is actually work on a lot of different projects at one time. And focus is something that can be hard, but it's also, I like to juggle things a little. And obviously, I've been privileged and lucky to grow a really awesome team that I can delegate to. So you know, while I can tell you these amazing stories, it's not just me who did them. Obviously, I've gotten to push some cool pixels on it, but it's very much also my team. And yeah, so changing perspectives really helps, like changing what I work on, so that I don't work on the same thing. The Moto really almost broke our neck, I think, as a small company. That was a really big thing to work on. Thank you.